about our textbook chapter 13 on the introduction to the financial system. So starting today, we are moving on to a special market called a market for money or a market for financial assets. So remember when we talk about the competitive market way before the first midterm exam. So in a competitive market, right? Remember I asked this type of question a lot. How many sides does a market have? The answer is two, right? There's a supply side and there's a demand side. And with the supply and the demand, we can find a so-called competitive market equilibrium. We have equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. In equilibrium, we have quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. So now we are going to extend this concept to the market for money. Here, I put money on quotes. So we are going to talk about, I'm going to talk about who are on the demand side and the supply side of money and how money flows from the supply side to the demand side. Okay, so first, who are on the supply side of money? So basically, you are on the supply side. Why? As long as you have opened a bank account with a commercial bank. So for example, Wells Fargo or IBC Bank or Chase Bank or Bank of America, right? You're on the supply side of money because you're supplying your spare cash to a commercial bank. So you're on the supply side of money. Who else? Institutional investors. Who are institutional investors? So for example, pension funds, Tennessee State Teacher Pension Fund, right? New York Police Pension Fund. So those group of people, they are supplying their monthly savings retirement funds to the financial market. So the supply side of money or the supply side of funds come from people's savings. So also those people or the institution who supply money to the market, they are also called lenders. They are lending money or they are supplying money to the market. So this is the supply side. So who are on the demand side? Who demand money? Who want money? First, you could be on the demand side of money. So notice that in a financial market, you could be as a regular citizen, right? As a consumer, you could be on the demand and the supply side of this money market at the same time. Why? So for example, this is the homepage for Wells Fargo, right? You're on the supply side of money. So for example, here is personal. You can open a savings account, right? So for example, if you have 1,000 US dollars extra cash, right? You can open a savings account with Wells Fargo and you may earn some interest payment for 1 year. So in this case, you are on the supply side of the money market. You are a lender, you are a supplier of money. But also go back to the homepage of Wells Fargo. Notice here, it's also a type called loan and credits, right? So you can have a savings account with Wells Fargo. You can also borrow money from Wells Fargo. In this case, you are on the demand side. You demand money, you need money, you want money. In this case, you are a borrower. Why? So for example, you want to get a personal loan from Wells Fargo, or you can get an auto loan if you want to buy a new car, or you can get a student loan, pay for tuition and education expenses, right? Or if you're thinking about buying a house, a condo, an apartment, you may consider getting a home equity or mortgage loan, right? So in this case, you are on the demand side of money because you are borrowing money from a commercial bank like Wells Fargo. So as an individual consumer, you could be on the supply side and the demand side of money or funds at the same time. And also investors, they are on the demand side of money. So for example, if you want to open your own grocery store to compete against HEB in Laredo, right? Probably to start this business, you need $5 million at minimum. But it's very likely you do not have 5 million US dollars cash. So, but if you do want to proceed with your business plan, you want to open your personal independent grocery store, what should you do? You can get a loan, right? In this case, you can also get a loan, get a commercial loan from a commercial bank, Wells Fargo, 5 million US dollar loan, right? They may not approve you. They may not approve this loan to you, but in case they approve this loan to you, right? You are on the demand side of money. Why? Because in this case, you are investing. You want to build your own grocery store competing against HEB in Laredo. So these are the two sides of the money market or funds market. We have the supply side, we have the demand side. So keep in mind, savers, they are on the supply side. Supply of money comes from saving, people's savings. Demand side of funds or demand side of money comes from what? Investment, investors, borrowers. They are on the demand side. Okay, so how can borrowers get money from lenders, right? Do they have to physically meet with each other? The answer is no. So how does money flow from the supply side to demand side? Here in this middle, we have the so-called financial system. Financial system involves a group of institutions. First, we have financial markets, right? How does money flow from supply side to the demand side? The money can flow in a particular market called the bond market. So I'm going to dedicate one separate lecture on the bond markets. And also money can flow from savings to investors through so-called stock market. And also I'm going to dedicate a separate lecture to the stock market. Then I want to talk about the so-called financial intermediaries. What is a financial intermediary? It's kind of like a middleman, an agent who facilitates the flow of money from the supply side to demand side. So one of the most important financial intermediary is so-called commercial bank. What is a commercial bank? Here, Wells Fargo is a commercial bank, right? Probably you already have got the idea from my previous example. So you could be a lender and a borrower at the same time. How can you be a lender or supplier of money? As long as you open a savings account, right? So you are supplying money, not directly to a potential borrower, but you are supplying your money, your savings to a commercial bank, a financial intermediary. In this case, Wells Fargo first, right? And of course, you are not supplying your money to Wells Fargo for free. Why? Because Wells Fargo has to offer you some, even though it's very small, very little, interest payment, right? So for example, the interest rate could be 1%. So that means if you put $1,000 in a savings account in a year, Wells Fargo should pay you $10 as interest payment, right? So that's the price Wells Fargo has to pay you for you to supply money or for you to deposit $1,000 in a savings account at the Wells Fargo. So this is how the interaction works between the suppliers of money, you, and a financial intermediary, commercial bank, in this case, Wells Fargo. Okay, how about the other side? The interaction between a commercial bank and a potential borrower. Remember, you could also be a borrower. So for example, if you want to buy a new car, right? And this car is going to cost you $30,000 cash, but you do not have $30,000 cash in your pocket right now, but you do want to buy a new car. What should you do? Here, you can get what? So-called auto loans, right? Here. You can apply for auto loan from Wells Fargo. In this case, Wells Fargo, which is a financial intermediary, which is also a commercial bank, right, serves as a middleman, lender. This middleman, Wells Fargo, is going to lend you assuming Wells Fargo is going to approve your auto loan application, Wells Fargo is going to lend you $30,000 for you to buy a new car. And of course, Wells Fargo is not stupid. It will not lend you money for free, right? You have to pay what? Auto loan interest payment, right? The interest rate, if you borrow money from a commercial bank, the interest rate you have to pay is much higher than the interest rate you receive from opening saving account as a Wells Fargo. So for example, if you borrow $30,000 from Wells Fargo, right? Each year, probably you have to pay 5% to 7% interest rate, which is much higher than the saving interest rate. That means the interest rate promised to you if you open a savings account. See, how does Wells Fargo, a commercial bank, have $30,000 to lend to you if you want to get an auto loan? Remember, the money comes from those individual savers, right? Those individual person who have opened savings accounts or checking account with Wells Fargo. That is how money flow from savers to a commercial bank, Wells Fargo. That's one way, right? The arrow money flows from individual saver to a commercial bank. And on the other side, Wells Fargo works as a commercial bank, works as a middleman, right? It's going to lend the money it takes from saver to potential borrowers, people who want to get an auto loan, student loan, home equity, personal loan, also credit cards, right? So Wells Fargo is a typical example of financial intermediary, commercial banks. There's another type of financial intermediary. It's called a mutual fund. So one of the most famous mutual fund in America is called a Vanguard. Here, Vanguard. What is a mutual fund? So for example, if you want to buy or you want to invest in the stock market, right? So let me open Google Finance for an example. Suppose you want to invest in the stock market and you are thinking about buying Amazon stocks. So, but what's the problem? Amazon stock is very pricey, very expensive. The latest market price for each share of Amazon stock, right? You have to pay roughly $2,000. And in general, if you invest in the stock market, you have to buy way more than just one share, right? So for example, if the minimum amount of stock you have to buy is 100 shares, right? That means just to buy one stock, Amazon, you have to pay roughly $200,000. And you may not have this amount of cash available. But if you do want to invest in the stock market, but you don't have that amount of money to buy stocks, how can you do that? How can you invest in the stock market? In this case, you can still proceed with your investment plan, but now you need the help of another financial intermediary called a mutual fund. So for example, Vanguard. Here, if you have $1,000 spare cash in your pocket, right? That amount of money is not sufficient to buy just even one share of Amazon stock. But you can still invest in the stock market through mutual fund. So for example, if you want to invest in the stock market, here we have US stock funds, right? You can buy, so for example, S&P Index Admiral shares. Let me open this tab. So what is a mutual? Okay, here, minimum investment. As long as you have $3,000, you can buy this Vanguard 500 index fund. This is a typical mutual fund. $3,000 is not enough to buy 2 shares of Amazon stock, but you can buy mutual fund. How? The idea of a mutual fund is very simple. So the basic idea is we have many small investors, right? Each individual person may have $500, $800, $2,000, $3,000, right? Individually, we cannot buy many shares of stocks. But if we pool all of money together, you contribute $2,000, I contribute $3,000, right? If we have many individual contributors, we pool our money together, we may have, so for example, $20 million. Now, this is a lot of money, right? With $20 million coming from pulling everybody's contribution, pulling everybody's money together, now we can buy many shares of stocks. We can buy Amazon stocks, right? We can also buy Microsoft. We can buy American Airlines. We can buy Costco. So, and if in this case, this $20 million fund is called a mutual fund. Mutual fund comes from putting everybody's money together. If our fund makes money in the stock market, right, then according to our contribution, those profits made by this investment fund will be allocated according to your individual contribution. So for example, if you have contributed 1% of this mutual fund, right? If this mutual fund has made, so for example, $1,000, since your contribution comprises 1% of the total money in this fund, then this mutual fund is going to pay you $10 as investment payoff. So this is basically the idea of a mutual fund. So mutual fund is just another example of the so-called financial intermediary.